good. Everybody? Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our City of Palm Coast City Council business meeting. It is Tuesday, November the 1st, 2022. It is 6 p.m. and we are in the community wing of City Hall. I would ask you all to please rise and join me for our Pledge of Allegiance. If the clerk would call the roll, please.
Mayor Alford.
Present.
Vice Mayor Branquinho. Right here. Councilmember Danko.
Here.
Councilmember Finelli.
Present.
Councilmember Clufus. Present. Mayor, all members are present.
I've heard such a talkative and conversational group this evening. I hope it bodes well for a wonderful meeting to start off this second to last month of the year. So with that public participation, in order for city staff to be able to respond to your questions or concerns, please fill out a comment card with your contact information. The comment cards can be found on the table near the agendas or available from the communications and marketing directors standing just over on the side behind you. Public participation shall be held in accordance with Section 286.0114 Florida statutes, and pursuant to the City Council's meeting policies and procedures, each speaker shall at the podium provide their name and may speak for up to 3 minutes. The public may provide comments to the City Council relative to matters not on the agenda at the times indicated in this agenda. Following any comments from the public, there may be discussion by the City Council. When addressing the City Council on specific enumerated agenda items, speakers shall direct all comments to the mayor, make their comments concise and to the point, not speak more than once on the same subject, not by speech or otherwise delay or interrupt the proceedings or the peace of the City Council. Obey the orders of the mayor or the City Council, and not make any irrelevant, impertinent, or slanderous comments while addressing the City Council, which, pursuant to council rules, shall be considered disorderly. Any person who becomes disorderly or who fails to confine his or her comments to the identified subject or business shall be cautioned by the mayor and thereafter must conclude his or her remarks on the subject within the remaining designated time limit. Any speaker failing to comply as cautioned shall be barred from making any additional comments during the meeting and may be removed as necessary for the remainder of the meeting. And with that, I would invite any members of the public to please address City Council on any members that are not in our agenda this evening. So who would like to be first? Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. My name is Michael Feldbauer. I'm a resident of Palm Coast, been here for 16 years. I'm here on the comments, and the mayor is fully aware because he visited us 2 weeks ago on a weekend. USA Gun Shows Florida had an event at the Readiness Center, which is in the city of Palm Coast. And as did the year before, the city had taken up their banners, taken up their signs, and destroyed them prior to the event. On Friday afternoon, when it came to be setup time, when I got there, the city had already picked up 5 or 7 banners that were on private property, properly spaced off the sides of the road. And as we found out by calling the city, were not only picked up, but had been destroyed. This company, as other companies that come into the city, rent their facilities from city facilities, so there's rental coming in, there's people coming in from out of town that bring businesses to other businesses here, restaurants, whatever. There are also local exhibitors at many of these events. My feeling is if the city needs to work out a program that allows this to be happening in a proper way, just as they promote Food Truck Tuesdays, which I think is a great time to promote. It's a great event. But it's city run or city promoted, and other businesses don't have the same advantage. And not to be too sarcastic, and I'm sorry if I am, the amount of political signs that are allowed out at this time of year is disgusting. How many signs do you need on Old Kings Road for the same candidates? So if we allow those kinds of things and then discourage businesses from promoting, I think it's something that the council needs to take a look at to see how we can do this properly. That's all we're looking for. This particular company would like to come into the city 4 times a year, once a quarter. They have one of the highest integrity ratings of any of the gun show promoters, and so are the vendors that promoted their shows. So there's nothing to be discouraged about. I think the mayor saw that as he came in to view what was going on there 2 weeks ago Sunday and spoke to the promoter. So again, I'm here just to say, what can we do in the future to stop this type of activity? What can we do to make sure it's done in accordance to something proper that promotes business? That's it. So I thank you for that opportunity and thank you for that time. I'd also be willing at any time to sit down with any of the members to see if we can work out a solution. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comment. The next speaker, please.
Steve Carr, Palm Coast, reporting speeding on the internet. It's a great idea. I think it's marvelous. But there's one little drawback to it. Usually when I'm out in my yard working and the car comes speeding by the time I clean up and get to my computer, I don't remember what time it was, what color the car was, or any particularities about it. So, why I'm saying that is there's a product that's called Black Cat 2 Plus radar recorder that you can put in a neighborhood and it will record all the speeding activity in that neighborhood. And it would be 24 hours a day. You won't have to have somebody monitoring the neighborhood. This device would actually get that data for you. I would like to encourage the city to work with the sheriff department to get that. Many cities in Florida are using traffic calming methods such as speed humps to protect residential safety, health, and quality of life. And I just really don't understand the reluctancy of Palm Coast not to adopt some of the things that would help the residential areas. Also help the sheriff department. It's proved to help to lower crime also. Numerous health organizations, universities worldwide have scientific studies with facts as to the harm to the most vulnerable, children and elderly, from close proximity traffic to homes and prolonged exposure to traffic fumes. Florida Park Drive, before it was closed, had recorded up to 9,000 cars per day, which is 3 million cars per year, just 60 feet from children's bedrooms. We wouldn't close a garage and put a child in the garage with a car running, but we will put 9,000 cars down a street just 60 feet from a child's bedroom. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me, though. People say you should not have moved there. Well, in 1998, there wasn't probably but about 500 cars that did that. People say, if you don't like it, move. Well, are they really saying you go ahead and move so the next family, we can harm them too? So there's all kind of reasons not to protect the residents, but there's all kind of reasons the residents would like to be protected. Please consider the Black Cat 2 Plus radar recorder. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Is there another speaker that would like to address City Council at this time?
Mayor, Gary Kunis, C-Section. What's the name?
Gary Kunis. We had an event on Friday, which should have been avoided completely. We had a situation where drain water was being flushed into the canal with sand, debris, at a phenomenal rate. We called city, all we were getting was voicemails. I'm out until the 31st. Called somebody else, got voicemail. Finally got a hold of somebody. Oh, you need to talk to Valerie. Call Valerie, get voicemail. I sent you copies of pictures. Roger sent pictures of the neighbor where it was affected by majority of this stuff. All weekend long, that water ran into the canal with the sand. Horrendous amounts of sand. The new pipe was laid there on Wednesday, but they never installed it. The paving people, or the paving block people, should be held responsible for that and to clean the canal. Several years ago, there was an incident on Cherokee Court West where a builder finished and he started throwing his debris in the canal. Neighbor said, "What are you doing?" He said, "Well, I always do that." He called the city, nothing done. He called DER and they came out and made him remove everything that was put in the canal. Because apparently the state has a much more demanding thing about dumping stuff in the canals. Neighbor also told me, he says, last week somebody showed up and said, "Oh, I'm here about a complaint that was made about this property back in July." 3 months later, why? That should be taken care of then, not later. You're supposed to be showing example, or setting examples for the rest of us. And I believe anybody who's running for a public office shouldn't have a background of DUIs and Homeland Security coverage because they're being watched, or driving under the influence of alcohol or driving without a suspended license. Should not be able to run for public position. And anybody who has that kind of thing should take themselves off the ballot. Thank you. Oh, this needs to be mounted on those new walls, those plastic seawalls. That house over there has none. You can see the stain coming down from the sand that's been running out there ever since it was installed. These are supposed to be in those holes. They're filters. They'll let the water out and retain the sand. I'll give you this one.
Thank you for your comment. Yes, sir.
Bruce Stone, Steve Sutchin. I'd like to make a request that the city council starts looking at holding council meetings maybe an hour later. I talk to a lot of people on websites around Palm Coast, and they just say they can't make the meetings at 6 o'clock. It's impossible, you know. And we've already addressed the traffic issues upstairs. I just pray to God this city does something. Every time we come down to discuss the meeting, it's the same 5 people that approach this city. That's it.
Thank you for your comment. Are there any other members of the public that would like to address City Council at this time? Yes, ma'am?
I'm Jan Markowitz. I've been here before, and it's about safety on Cimarron Drive. I'm that tricycle rider that works really hard to get out of Cimarron onto the wonderful places where we go to get our exercise. I do about 30 miles a week on my trike, and there were a couple of things. I sent some photos to Virginia, and I hope she'll pass those along. I sent a little video the last time I was here. But it has the actual measurement of the trike, and it shows on Cimarron Drive how much space I take up, and how even with the cars coming by, and even with the double yellow lines, sometimes cars don't want to cross the double yellow line, and they're really close to those extra wide tricycles. We just take up a little more space than a bicycle. And we've had quite a few families that have moved in, that there's more kids out on the roads too. And I even saw someone this morning with their kid in their basket. The way you'll see my dog is in the back because he rides with me because it's also my way that I walk him. And if I'm walking him, he's even taking up a little more space on the other side. So those sidewalks would sure mean a lot to us on Cimarron, so we can get out to enjoy those beautiful places that you have set up for us to use for our exercise and safety. Let me just look at my notes real quick. I'm trying to be as quick as I can. I think November starts our third year of coming in to talk. And Al was telling me that it's been at one of our meetings, we were talking about, we're on third base, that we're getting close. We just need funding and the money to help get this done for us. And I just want to make sure we can make it to home base. So I have my information that I sent with the email to Virginia. If you need to talk to me or have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Any other members of the public would like to address City Council at this time?
John White, section in the east section. I'd like to complain about the sidewalk issues from Belterre going all the way to Town Center. On the north side of the street, there are tripping hazards. I reported them before, and all they did was come out and flash them in with cement. I like to have the flags removed because they are tripping hazards, and it's a walking path. I've complained about them several times, and no one has done anything about it but come out and put some cement as far as flashing. The other thing is going on East Hampton. There are all kinds of tripping hazards on East Hampton going up to Ellsworth, where the grass has not been removed. Every time the grass is cut, they have a weed whacker on the lawnmower. I've never seen anybody get out and use the weed whacker. So somebody has to address it because nobody's doing anything about it. I've lived in the Palm Coast for 7 years, and the sidewalk has been the same. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comment. Any remaining speakers like to address City Council at this time? Seeing no one approach, I will close this section of the agenda for public comment, and we have administrative item, the minutes. We have minutes of the City Council October 18th, 2022 business meeting. Can I have a motion?
Move approval.
I have a motion to approve and a second. Mr. Clerk, have the count. Thank you. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. We now move to our presentations and proclamations. So I would ask for the first presentation, which would be our Florida Urban Forestry Council Award.
Hi there. My name is Erin Givens, and I am just really grateful to have the time in today's council meeting. I am currently serving as the president for the Florida Urban Forestry Council. We are a statewide nonprofit organization dedicated to promoting the enhancement and education of urban forest across the state. We have a diverse membership, everything from municipalities to arborists, foresters, tree care professionals, and really truly citizens across the state that believe trees are an important part of their community. And so as part of the council's work, we work to educate citizens across the state, not only on the value of trees, but the benefits they provide. We also aim to teach people how to plant trees and maintain them, manage them, and to sustain what we call our urban forest. So We can't do that alone. We require our members of our nonprofit to do that. And in recognition of the members' hard work, we have an awards program. And the awards program is called Friends of Our Urban Forest Awards, and there's 7 different categories. One of the categories, which I'm very excited, I will be presenting to one of your city employees, is our Outstanding Tree Advocate Award. And this goes to recognize an individual who has exemplifies everything that we look for in educating the public. And so our nomination committee met this year. We're awarding the 2021 Outstanding Tree Advocate Award. And when we were looking at nominations, it was very clear that we had someone who just stood out. You know, that pillar oak tree out in the field that is deeply rooted in providing educational content to the community. Just like an oak tree has branches that outreach, you know, she was out there reaching out into the community, everything from tree care professionals providing what we call the tree trimming training program to help professionals in your community understand how to properly prune and to comply with your city's ordinances. She additionally was out there educating homeowners by attending your HOA, your local HOA meetings to teach right tree, right place, and providing, sponsoring a beautiful illustrated poster that talks about how to plant, where to plant the right tree in the right place so that citizens aren't putting the wrong tree close to sidewalks, close to their house, and incurring a lot of future maintenance costs and concerns. In addition, one of the items, the programs that this city employee is implementing and developed was a program called CHIRP, which is Children Helping in Resource Protection. And this was just so exciting and truly extraordinary in all of our members' opinion. And we truly believe that the children are the future. And if we can't teach children how to plant trees, then we really can't succeed in creating a green and sustainable future. So it is with much honor and excitement that I present this Outstanding Tree Advocate Award to Carol Minnie, the City of Palm Coast Urban Forester. I'd like to give Carol a chance to speak to her glory because we all
Absolutely.
greatly
Please do.
appreciate her work.
Oh my gosh, I'm so honored to be here and to accept this beautiful award. It's stellar. It's a prestigious award, and I'm trying to not cry because I've been the urban forester here for 17 years, and if it wasn't for all of you residents, thank you. And the mayor and council that supports me and these programs and some of my kind of crazy ideas that I put out there. If it wasn't for all of you, I wouldn't be standing here. So I am honored and I'm greatly appreciative of the position I have and all of your support. And also I have to mention the support of my lovely daughter, Sophia. Who So she comes to council meetings with me, and she also goes to different programs that I hold, so she's my little urban forester in training.
So she might be the future that you're talking about, I would guess.
That's
Very
correct.
good. Very good. It's wonderful, and the award is lovely and so deserved. Just to kind of go on the record, I read, I think, a magazine this past weekend. It was called Evolve Magazine. It's a local magazine about our area and all of that. And there's a quote in there that 85% of Flagler is green, and it behooves us to do all we can to maintain that great percentage of green, and hopefully if we can even improve that. But I was very pleased to know that such a large percentage of our entire geographical area is assigned a green rating. So I know, along with the efforts of our city manager, who has spent an entire career supporting your efforts and all that go along with it, congratulations.
Thank you very much. I'm honored. And I'd just like to say that I'm excited to see what the future holds for Palm Coast and us being a green and a tree city, so I look forward to our future as well. Thank you.
Thank you again. Our next proclamation will be delivered by Councilman Kalufas, who is going to present a very important landmark on our timeline for the city of Palm Coast. So if, absolutely.
Oh yeah, just a few, I'm sure, yeah, absolutely. Pardon my back. Hey, how are you? Good to see you. Oh, hey, Ralph. How you doing, Ralph? Hey. Taking a picture here? Let's take a look. We're doing it now? Yeah? Pull that, yeah. We're going first. Remix, all good. Excellent. Oh, oh. There we go. No worries. You want to hold this? I'll hold it just so you can see it. Thank you guys for all being here tonight. Yeah, absolutely. It's a heck of a thing. Fair enough. Excellent. Okay, here we go. First of all, I appreciate everyone coming out here tonight. Thank you so much. Yeah, absolutely, not a problem. Whereas Shirley Chisholm, November 30th, 1924 to January 1st, 2005, was a humanitarian, a politician, and achieved a dynamic list of firsts. She was a trendsetter before her time. And whereas Chisholm's legacy focused on the equal rights of women, children, family, and education, whereas Chisholm made history for being the first black United States Congresswoman and making a bid for the U.S. presidency in 1972. She was an advocate for minority education and employment opportunities during her term in Congress. And whereas Chisholm was bold in taking a diverse approach as a politician, she stood firm in what she believed in. As a gifted leader, she brought awareness by being a purposeful voice, which extended to the black community. And whereas Chisholm moved to the city of Palm Coast in 1991 and lived here until her death in 2005. Whereas a trail along Pine Lakes Parkway will be dedicated to Shirley Chisholm's legacy on November 30th, 2022 at 10 a.m. at the Pine Lakes Golf Club, sponsored by the Democratic Women's Club of Flagler County. Now there be it proclaimed by the mayor and the city of Palm Coast City Council November as Shirley Chisholm Month to remember Shirley Chisholm's and reflect upon all of her accomplishments in life and her contributions to our nation, and remember her as a catalyst for change in America. Signed this first day of November 2022, City of Palm Coast, David Alphen, Mayor. Here, please.
Thank you so much. My name is Jill Reynolds, President of the Democratic Women's Club. I just wanted to start off by a quote by Shirley Chisholm that I thought was appropriate. I know that millions of Americans from all walks of life agree that leadership does not mean putting the ear to the ground to follow public opinion, but to have the vision of what is necessary and the courage to make it possible. I just wanted to, it's a real honor to be standing up here and on behalf of the Democratic Women's Club of Flagler County, on behalf of the Shirley Chisholm Trail Steering Committee, and on behalf of all the groups that have supported this effort, I'd just like to quick thank a few people. Lauren Johnson and her team were the first people that we came in contact with in the city, and she really helped guide us and helped write the legislation that didn't exist before we decided that we wanted to name a trail after Shirley Chisholm. I'd like to thank the Beautification Committee, who, in a unanimous push, was able to get our vision in front of you. I'd especially like to thank the City Council, and I'm not gonna lie, we weren't sure what it was gonna be. And in a beautiful show of bipartisanship, nonpartisanship, you saw our vision as we did, which was a nonpartisan community project. And we are extremely grateful for your unanimous vote. And lastly, I'd like to formally thank James Hurst and his team at Parks and Recreation. He has been a stellar champion of this project, a great representative of the city, and a real partner in bringing this project to life. This proclamation, this trail, gives Shirley Chisholm the credit that she deserves and highlights the richness and the diversity in our beautiful city. And we will look forward to further expansion. Thank you so much. Thank you. Go ahead.
We just like, can I move it? Oh, okay.
Yes, you
We would
can.
just like to thank a few more words. You can see before you a village. This is our village, and this is the village that helped us to bring this to date. So we want you to join us on November the 30th at 10 a.m. in the morning for the dedication of the Shirley Chisholm Bronze Plaque. Thank you.
Yeah, no, of course. Good job. Did you get the- Good. Our next proclamation will be delivered by our Vice Mayor, Eddie Branchino. Thank you again, folks, for coming this evening. We appreciate you.
My peeps. All right. Before I read it, I just want to say that I usually come here with a jacket on. But I know that my friend John's got some for me. Your official member of the Diabetes Alliance. I am a diabetic. Type 2, but I am a diabetic. And I'll never forget the day that I went to the hospital and your girl's there. Phew. Boy. Oh, good thing it's not a medium, huh? Good thing it's not a medium. Anyway, let me read this before I choke. I gotta get some more lights. Pretty small lettering. Proclamation. Whereas the American Diabetes Association estimates that nearly 37.3 million people in the United States are afflicted with or affected by diabetes, and another 88 million are still at risk of developing prediabetes. Trust me, I didn't believe in it until I got it. Whereas having diabetes elevates the risk of heart disease, amputation, kidney failure, and blindness, causing serious hardship for families across not only our county, but also our state and nation. And whereas diabetes screening and self-management education will help individuals in recognition of the symptoms of diabetes and provides an opportunity to follow suggestions for living quality of lifestyle. And whereas the International Diabetes Federation has established November 14th of 2022 as a World Diabetes Day to educate citizens on ways to predict if someone is at risk for the disease, to help recognize the symptoms of diabetes and follow suggestions for having a quality of lifestyle while they endure this affliction.
And whereas the City of Palm Coast and Advent Health Palm Coast together recognize that the growing number of diabetics in our community makes a strong case for devoting more resources to help to find a cure, provide screenings, education, support, and the required lifestyle changes. And whereas the Palm Coast Advent Health Palm Coast has formed the Diabet, B-E-A-T, Alliance. This alliance represents the City of Palm Coast, Flagler County Schools, Flagler County Health Department, Flagler County Free Clinic, and many corporate and private citizens that are all dedicated to beating this diabetes. And whereas the alliance will kick off November diabetes awareness effort in Palm Coast by flying the alliance flag, distributing diabetes resource bags, hosting educational and screening events throughout Flagler County to continue efforts to raise awareness and educate our community. Now, therefore, be it known, Palm Coast Mayor and the City Council hereby proclaim November 14, 2022 as World Diabetes Day and November 2022 as Diabetes Awareness Month. In Palm Coast, to increase the community awareness of the risk factors and symptoms related to diabetes in order to improve the likelihood that people with diabetes will seek medical attention to avoid the devastation complications of the disease. Adopted this first day of November 2022, attested by Virginia Smith and signed by Mayor Alfin. Thank you. Sir. Let me get my glasses so I can see what I'm doing now.
John Subers, Advent Health Palm Coast Foundation, thank you so much, Councilman, to really start off our month of November for Diabetes Awareness Month. The Diabetes Alliance is a group of community people, certainly formed from the foundation, but it's the true passion is to raise awareness about the importance of screening for diabetes, knowing you have diabetes, and as you'll hear in a minute, the education of diabetes. A big, big deal in our community, all over the country, all over the world, of diabetes and the growing. So our little committee, through, it's not very little, with the City of Palm Coast and having events through the month of November, creating awareness. Our main event is, as you mentioned, on November 14th, World Diabetes Day, and that's the day insulin was invented many, many years ago, so that's the day we celebrate. And with the City of Palm Coast Health, right here in the backyard of our City Hall, we are having a Diabetes Alliance event. It's 4 to 5 o'clock. Come out and enjoy us, and the mayor and I will do yoga again.
Absolutely.
We will try to do yoga again and put ourselves out there. We look funny, and you can imagine, but please welcome. And the people we have with us is Rich Haas. He's the chairman of our diabetes committee. Phyllis Wolf with the Flagler County Free Clinic, great partners with our hospital, with the foundation, and what they do to our community partners. Mel and Alana with the health department, and through Phyllis and Mel and Alana, I'm going to ask Mel and Alana and Phyllis to speak real quick, because they need to tell you what they do and why, what they do every day and their passion, and certainly Elaine Gonzalez with the hospital. So Mel and Alana, will you all speak first, please, and tell the council what we do? And the health department is such a valuable asset to us.
Hi, my name's Alana Shawa. I'm a registered dietitian, and I teach the diabetes self-management education classes at the Flagler County Health Department. Diabetes is a prevalent disease. 1 in 10 people have diabetes in the United States, and it'll only keep increasing as the trends continue. Diabetes is a leading cause of blindness, kidney failure, and non-traumatic amputations, which leads us into diabetes being the most expensive chronic disease in our nation, at $237 billion per year. And that includes direct medical costs and indirect, such as reduced productivity. Due to diabetes being such a costly disease, preventing diabetes and managing it is critical to the health and wealth of our state and health systems. So what can we do to address this? Well, one thing is we can raise awareness of the local programs that are offered here that are proven to prevent diabetes and manage it, So the Flagler County Health Department offers the only CDC-recognized diabetes prevention program, which is proven to reduce somebody from getting diabetes by 58%. The Health Department and Advent Health both offer the Diabetes Self-Management Education Program. So that's to help somebody with diabetes manage it and reduce the risk of developing the complications of diabetes. So unfortunately, these programs are severely underutilized in the nation. They say only 7% of private insurance and only 4% of Medicare patients take a diabetes class within 12 months of new diagnosis. And that's one of the most critical times to get your diabetes under control, so with that first year. So please help us in spreading the word about these amazing programs that are offered in our community to either help prevent diabetes or manage it.
Hi, my name is Melody Pierjean. I'm a registered dietitian, and I coordinate the Diabetes Prevention Program at the Flagler County Department of Health. More than 1 in 3, or an estimated 96 million U.S. adults, have prediabetes, and 8 in 10 people don't know they have it. Prediabetes is real, it's prevalent in our communities, but most importantly, it's reversible. People over the age of 60 can cut their risk of developing type 2 diabetes 71% by joining a diabetes prevention program. The program can also lower your risk of having a heart attack, stroke, improve your health, help you feel more energetic, and of course, reverse your prediabetes diagnosis. The program is effective due to promoting 5 to 7% weight loss and increased physical activity. My main request is to make sure that you and your loved ones are getting your yearly screenings, and if your doctor tells you you have prediabetes, take it seriously.
Eddie, I think we need to try to get from a XXL shirt to down to an XL, okay? That's our deal. Phyllis Wolf, will you come from the Flagler County Free Clinic?
Hi, thank you. I'm Phyllis Wolf, I'm a nurse practitioner, and had retired from working a few years ago, and it was my give back time. And what an amazing place to give back to my community, my new community at that point, and that's here at the Flagler County Free Clinic, where as a provider of medical care for people with diabetes, I see people with diabetes, the underserved of our community, and how wonderful that this council, that the city of Palm Coast, that our county supports us, and at Advent Health. I don't know how we could do what we do to take care of our patients and really give them the medical care that they need, to supply them with the medications that they need, and to make sure that they get lab work that they need, any testing that they need, so that the underserved, these are the uninsured, not our 65 and over who can qualify for Medicare, but these are our, I call them the working poor sometimes. They are working, they can't afford health care, or they're just not able to work, but there's nothing else out there for them, and we can give it to them. And how blessed are we to do that? And I thank you for all your support and for allowing us to do that. So thank you.
As you can see, it's a very impressive group, and that's what we do with the Diabetes Alliance. So thank you all very much, and we'd love a picture.
Like a glove.
Perfect.
Nice.
I knew that. I knew this one. You all know what that means. Perfect. I love it. I'm very excited to have our Citizens Academy here tonight. Because you are about to hear something in just a few minutes that you will never have a chance to hear again. It will be a first and only, so hang in there for a few more minutes. We take each one of our proclamations very seriously. We offer them with all the seriousness we can muster. The proclamations you've heard this evening and throughout the beginning of this year all affect a great number of people. I can promise you that the two proclamations you will hear next affect everyone in this room, either directly or indirectly, will affect your future generations, either indirectly or directly. So the first thing I have to ask is, are there any veterans here tonight in the room?
Want me to come up?
Absolutely. Please come up and join me, please, if you wouldn't mind. All gentlemen, where are the ladies? Okay, thank you. Some proclamations do not require much of an introduction because I think the words that you will now hear will really tell the story completely. Whereas tonight's City Council meeting is the ideal venue to pay tribute to our local military men and women who've sacrificed their own lives to ensure the remarkable quality of life that we share here in Palm Coast. And whereas every single military veteran who lives in the city of Palm Coast and or is employed by the city deserves meaningful recognition for the selfless service they have shown to our homeland. And whereas those City of Palm Coast employees who are also United States veterans have had two different service careers, first in the military and then serving our government in civilian life, making them unique individuals who deserve our distinct appreciation. And whereas we are indebted to all of these extraordinary men and women who've done things most people don't want to do, conquered places we would never want to visit, and lived at length in uncomfortable surroundings we can't even imagine. And whereas Palm Coast will be honoring the hundreds of local military veterans who've safeguarded our freedom through a Veterans Day ceremony and by providing a picnic lunch on November the 11th in Central Park to commemorate their distinguished service to our nation. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Mayor and the Palm Coast City Council declare November as Palm Coast Veteran Appreciation Month and urge each and every citizen to not only say thank you to our military veterans, but to forever honor their service by expressing frequent, profuse gratitude for keeping us safe and free. Signed this first day of November 2022 by myself and the city clerk. Thank you, gentlemen, for all of your service. So let's finish that off with something also special. This comes as deeply from my heart as you can possibly imagine if you just take a gander at the screen quickly. Whereas a Navy aircraft carrier is a warship that serves as a seagoing air base, supporting and operating airplanes to protect operations and reinforce the missions of America and its coalition partners. And whereas the United States Navy oversees maneuvers and tactics for 11 large nuclear-powered fleet carriers, all of which serve as seagoing air base equipped with a full-length flight deck and facilities for carrying, arming, deploying, and recovering aircrafts. And whereas an aircraft carrier, much like a city at sea, accommodating the everyday needs, career goals, hopes and dreams of thousands of the prideful sailors and officers on board. And whereas the city of Palm Coast consists of the largest concentration of veterans in the country, with over 10% of the population being veterans. And whereas Palm Coast champions the service of our local military veterans and the soldiers and sailors who are presently serving our nation's call to duty. Whereas sensing the solid bond that ties us to the fine men and women who serve on Navy aircraft carrier cities, the citizens of Palm Coast wish to recognize their military sense of honor and pride as they continue to defend and to support our freedom. And whereas cities across the world often connect as partners to together value integrity, toughness, and accountability in actions and decision-making. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the mayor and the City of Palm Coast City Council do hereby recognize the month of November 22nd as Sister Cities Partnership Month between Palm Coast and the USS Gerald R. Ford, representing that no country, no state, and no community does more for veterans than the United States of America, the great and free state of Florida, and the city of Palm Coast within Flagler County. Signed by myself and the city clerk this day of November the 1st, 2022. I promised you a first. So this is, as far as we know, the first time a Florida city, or perhaps any city, has adopted a United States aircraft carrier, and self-proclaimed by those men and women sailors on that boat to be the biggest, baddest boat in the ocean. So is now, officially, I delivered a proclamation to the ship with a key to the city, so they are now officially a sister city of the city of Palm Coast. So we're very proud of that. And let me just make my footnote quickly. We chose the Navy only because of the invitation, the fact that the Navy ship is a city at sea. But this is with respect to every veteran from every branch of the service here in the city of Palm Coast. And we look forward to seeing every one of you at the upcoming celebration. Dave, I'll introduce you. Would you like to say a word? Sure. Okay. Dave, it's on the spot.
Only to encourage everybody to come to Town Center on November 11th at 10 a.m. The county and the city are combining to do a Veterans Day ceremony. We'd love to see everybody there. We'd love to see hundreds of people there to celebrate our veterans and our country. So that's all I have.
Very good. Mr. Lyden is our military affairs officer for Flagler County and is the one responsible for making sure that every one of our vets get the best possible attention they can. So thank you all.
Thank you, Mayor.
And now, as we move forward in our agenda, and before we begin with today, the City Council business portion of the meeting, I do want to take a moment, especially on behalf of our Citizens Academy. For each workshop, City Council receives a comprehensive overview of each item. At that time, it is Council's opportunity to provide opinions and ask questions on each item. Just as a reminder, items that are quasi-judicial in nature will require Council to base their decisions on only what is presented at the scheduled public hearings conducted at the scheduled business meetings. The purpose of a business meeting is for Council to review and weigh all of the evidence and take action with decisions based on all information presented, both at the prior workshop and today. So with that, we will move forward to item G on the agenda, which are ordinances of the first read, and I would ask Council to please read item number 7 into the record, please.
Thank you, Mayor. This is an ordinance concerning Whiteview US 1 Comprehensive Plan Amendment, application number 5190. An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Palm Coast, Florida, providing for the amendment of the City of Palm Coast 2035 Comprehensive Plan, as previously amended, pursuant to Section 163 Florida statutes, amending the future land use map designation for 30 acres of certain real property from Flagler County designation of agriculture and timberlands and conservation to City of Palm Coast designations of mixed use and conservation, as described in more detail in the legal description, which is an exhibit to this ordinance, providing for conflicts, ratification of prior acts, codification, severability, and an effective date.
Mr. Papa, you have a presentation for us?
Yes, sir. I do have a presentation, and it's to cover this item and the one following it, which is a companion item for a rezoning. I believe council will clarify that, but I can do the one presentation at this time.
Very good. Thank you.
Yes, just, this is a comprehensive plan, and then there's a consistent rezoning that's going along with it. So when I read the next title, I'll mention that it's a quasi-judicial proceeding, and you'll have to disclose ex parte.
Counselor.
So good evening, Mayor and members of City Council. Jose Paffa for the Community Development Department. And again, what we have before you tonight is two amendments. One is to the future land use map, and the second one is to the zoning map. The subject parcel is about 30 vacant acres, which is found on the west side of US 1 at the end of Whiteview Parkway. This parcel was annexed into the city earlier this year, January 2021. And as any annexed parcel, it currently retains the Flagler County land use and zoning designations. And our purpose here tonight, one of the purposes here tonight, is to tag this parcel with the appropriate City of Palm Coast land use and zoning designation. So the map on the left shows you the parcel, 30 acres. It's currently agriculture and timberlands, and a sliver of conservation designation on the southwest corner. The current zoning for the property is agriculture. So under the proposed amendment, the agriculture and timberlands designation and conservation designation will be changed to the City of Palm Coast designation of mixed use, and a larger portion of the parcel will now be designated as conservation. With any future land use map amendment, we look at its impact to public facilities. And this one, what we saw when we ran the numbers for public facilities impact, that we see that there is a potential reduction in trips based on a mixed-use development, that the maximum mixed-use development versus the maximum development within an agriculture and timberlands designation. But at the same time, there is that increase in demand on water and sewer facilities, and that's just the way that the numbers work based on the potential trips that could be within a mixed-use development compared to the potential trips within an agriculture and timberland designation. Looking at the environmental impact analysis, we find that there will be no environmental conditions that would be significantly impacted by the proposed flume amendment. And this is mainly due to the fact that the proposed amendment will expand that current conservation that you saw at the southwest corner of the parcel and expanding that conservation site from about 2.5 acres to about 5.5 acres. And that expanded site, as we've gone through these future land use map amendments in the past, based on ground truthing and identifying where the wetlands really are when you get on the ground, we find that there's a larger wetland area that is connected to a wetland system to the west. And so it would be appropriate to expand that conservation areas and take those wetland areas and put them in a conservation designation. Its consistency with surrounding land use, the proposed mixed-use designation is compatible with the development to the north and is consistent with development patterns that are currently occurring along the west side of US 1, mainly from just north of Whiteview Parkway to about Royal Palms Parkway. If anyone who uses US 1 between the segments of Whiteview and Royal Palms, I think, has seen that on the west side of US 1, we've seen a number of different construction projects going up. Those are mainly additional storage facilities, but some of that construction does also include commercial, industrial, flex space buildings. And again, finally, as part of this future land use map amendment, designating that parcel on the western portion of the parcel, conservation, makes it consistent with the existing conditions that we find west of the parcel, which is a large interconnected wetland system. So the amendment, reviewing this amendment with other comprehensive plan policies, we find that this amendment is consistent with the following policies. Policy 1313, which is to encourage development where infrastructure is available, mainly found along US 1. Policy 1412, promoting a balance of land uses. Here, I think we're going to get a non-residential designation to complement the residential uses that are mainly found on the east side of US 1 at this location. Policy 5132 and 5223, which is to designate urban densities and intensities only where water and sewer is available. This amendment is consistent with that. And Policy 6199, which is an environmental policy, which is to designate large interconnected high-quality wetland systems and other high-quality environmentally sensitive areas as conservation, and we are doing that with this amendment. So the findings, we find that the public facilities are available to accommodate the impact of this flume amendment. The amendment will protect the environmental resources on site. The proposed designations are consistent with the surrounding land uses, and the amendment is consistent with the comprehensive plan. The Planning and Land Development Regulation Board met on October 19, 2022, and found this application to be consistent with the comprehensive plan and recommends that City Council approve the future land use map amendment from agriculture and timberlands and conservation, the current Flagler County designations, to mixed use and conservation, which is the City of Palm Coast designations. The companion amendment to that future land use map amendment is a proposed zoning map amendment. As we previously stated, the 30-acre parcel currently has a zoning of agriculture, and under the proposal, that the eastern portion of that parcel will be designated as high-intensity commercial. And again, that 5.5-acre parcel, which is going to be proposed to be designated as conservation on the future land use map, will have a zoning of preservation. Looking at the criteria for zoning map amendments within the Land Development Code, our findings are the following. For the criteria of consistency with the comprehensive plan, as we previously presented, we find this amendment to be consistent with policies for infrastructure availability and expanding urban uses where the infrastructure is available. And we also find this zoning map amendment to be consistent with policies to protect large interconnected wetlands. Again, same thing with the criteria to protect or to mitigate impact on the natural environment. Again, the preservation area will protect that large interconnected wetland. Its impact on public facilities, we find those public facilities are in proximity to serve the site. Again, the site is appropriate for intense commercial uses, being that it abuts US 1, but also the availability of infrastructure to serve it is available in proximity. Its impact on the economy, we see no negative impacts on the economy. The rezoning expands the opportunities for additional commercial development within an appropriate area with minimal impact on existing residential uses. And finally, are there changes in the circumstances or conditions? I think what we see here is that the owner or the applicant is responding to change in market for commercial space. There is a need for that. But I think the other change in circumstance that, as I mentioned in the beginning, is that this is a parcel that was annexed into the city. And so with its annexation and the proposal to develop something on it, we would need to have the appropriate City of Palm Coast land use designation and zoning designation for it. Its compatibility with proximate uses and development patterns. To the north of this parcel, directly to the north of this parcel, is the Town and Country, I believe it's Business Park, where we see a lot of that flex space that we're talking about. You have auto shops there, you have storage space there, and so this is very consistent, or the high-intensity commercial designation would be consistent with some of the uses that are found on that parcel to the north. To the east, you have mainly residential uses, but it is buffered by that 150-foot right-of-way of US 1. And of course, the preservation zoning that we're proposing for the western half, or the western segment of this parcel, is consistent with the areas to the west. And finally, does it accomplish a legitimate public use? It provides additional retail, commercial, office opportunities in areas with limited amount of such uses. And I just also want to bring, again, the point that, about 3/4 of a mile to a mile south of this location, we are seeing the similar types of development going up, the storage and the potential for the commercial flex space that's going up along US 1. Again, on the west side of US 1. To wrap it up, there was, as required by the code, the applicant did host a neighborhood meeting on October 4th at 6 p.m. at the African American Cultural Center. There were no residents in attendance at that meeting. So the Planning Board held a public hearing for this item also on October 19, 2022, and found this application 5192 consistent with a comprehensive plan, and recommends that City Council approve the zoning map amendment from agriculture, which is the Flagler County designation, to high-intensity commercial, COM3, and preservation, which are City of Palm Coast designations. The next steps here would be, if approved tonight, there will be a second public hearing, and eventually as we move through the approval process, there will be a site plan review process, and depending on the size of the proposal, it might have to come back to council. So at this time, the applicant is available to answer any questions about the proposed project. But that concludes staff's presentation.
So I don't have a question yet, but I just want to state that I appreciate, so wetlands, and the city manager will correct me if I'm wrong, rarely exist in isolation or independently. Wetlands almost always represent a part of a system, a flow, a larger presence. So I especially appreciate your identifying the wetlands that you are going to protect as part of a larger system. And I think that, we are beginning to understand that, throughout the entire city of Palm Coast, and respect that as we go forward always. So appreciate that and your team for recognizing that. Questions? Yes, sir.
I was just going to ask, we don't have to go into it now, but I was stemming off the mayor's question. I would love to learn more about how the ground truthing actually occurs. And, I think the mayor's absolutely right. You dig 6 inches down and there's water anywhere around here. So it's all connected at one level or another. But I would love to, outside this meeting, learn more about how the ground truthing occurs and who's responsible for that. I think it's also great that the expansion of wetlands has occurred here. So thank you.
Yes, sir, we'll get the expert
Vice
to
Mayor?
help.
Yes, actually, I wish instead of 30, would it be 300? Because it's on the west side of one. And why do I say that? It's because we need to start balancing Palm Coast. Palm Coast is too much on the east and very little on the west of Route 1. So see if you could buy the other 270 acres around there. That may be the beginning of what we need over here. Balance Palm Coast. I'll be sure to be voting in favor of this rezonings. Okay? And I'm usually not the one to do that, but this is so good for the city that I want to do that, and I want to make sure I'm the one who actually motions for the approval of this.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Additional questions from City Council?
I'd like to, associate myself with all of those comments, the conservation and really taking the time to go out and look at what was truly wetland and expanding that area. So thank you for that. Also, at the public hearing, the community hearing, nobody turned out in favor, against, had any questions?
No, sir, not at the public hearing. No, sir.
I saw that in the agenda. And also, with this designation, this would allow this property to be built out with businesses and future jobs and bring more industry into our city.
There is a long
city.
list of uses. That
Excellent.
Yes, sir.
Excellent.
Thank you, Councilman. Before I open for public comment, City Manager, any summary comment? I know this is your passion here.
So Jose does a wonderful job, but there's a team of professionals with the expertise behind the scenes. I was lucky enough to be one of those for many years. And I do have a statistic that may be relevant for the public and council to know. Our floodplain management program is very aggressive for making sure we're protecting those areas because wetlands go hand in hand, obviously, with managing storms. And I think it's about 60% of our high-risk floodplain areas are protected in conservation.
So would you agree that floodplain management is an integral part of our equation for smart managed growth for the future?
Yes, I would.
Okay, thank you. So with that, I would, I don't believe we have any, council has any specific questions for the applicant, but I would open up the agenda item for public comment. Are there any members of the public that would like to comment on this agenda item at this time? Seeing none, I'll close the public comment and walk me through, are we doing?
We have to vote. We're now on agenda number 7. That's a comprehensive plan amendment, so we need a vote on that.
Move approve.
Each one we're going to do.
Make a motion to approve.
So I have a motion to approve item number 7. Is there a second?
I'll make the second.
Councilman Danko is a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, please please confirm by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Does the clerk have the count?
Motion passes 5-0.
Very good. Now we move into a quasi-judicial.
Right, this is item number 8 on the agenda, an ordinance pertaining to Whiteview US 1 zoning map amendment, application number 5192. An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Palm Coast, Florida, providing for the amendment of the official zoning map as established in section 2.06 of the City of Palm Coast Unified Land Development Code, amending the zoning designation for approximately 30 acres from Flagler County designation of agriculture to City of Palm Coast designation of high-intensity commercial, COM 3, and preservation, PRS. Subject property is more particularly described in Exhibit A and graphically depicted in Exhibit B, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, providing for non-codification, and providing for an effective date. This matter is the rezoning portion, so it's a quasi-judicial matter. If there's been any ex parte communications on this project, please disclose them now.
Councilman?
None
Nor for me.
whatsoever.
None.
No councilman has
Ex parte. Thank
Ex
you.
parte. I would ask just one thing, with respect to our Citizens Academy that are here. Can you just give us a very brief definition of how we define quasi-judicial?
Quasi-judicial means sort of judicial.
Touche.
Is that too?
You asked the lawyer that question?
Or less of an explanation. So in quasi-judicial matters, the city council, the item that just came before the comprehensive plan amendment, that was a legislative matter. The city's comprehensive plan is a legislative document. That means it sets policy and sets the path forward for the city. Quasi-judicial matters, rezoning matters, are those which come before the city council, and the city council acts as, for lack of a better term, as a judge or a hearing officer to take all the information that they hear in this hearing and the evidence and testimony that's presented, along with the staff report that's included in the agenda, and makes a decision based on those items. So it's hard to really explain the differences between a comprehensive plan amendment and a rezoning amendment, even those people that have been practicing land use for many years. The line is very thin, but for rezonings, for variances, for special exceptions, which I won't get into explaining what those are, the city council sits as more of a judge or administrative judge in hearing the case, takes in public comment and all the testimony, and renders a decision.
And you'll remember in a statement that I read before we started this portion of the agenda that we are to use the evidence that we have been given to make our determination, so we would disclose if there were something else affecting our decision-making. So I think that makes it clear for everyone. And do I offer this out to public comment?
Yes.
Are there any members of the public that would like to comment on this agenda item at this time? Yes, sir. Please step forward and identify yourself for us.
Good evening. My name's Nick Caruso. Anyway, I just wonder what's going in there. What kind of business is going into that lot, that space?
Oh, okay, sure. So currently, there is a potential buyer for the site, and that potential buyer, I believe, is a U-Haul operation. And it's not just the renting of the trucks, it's storage, as well as a retail operation that U-Haul offers for moving supplies and other things. I think it's could serve as an incubator for the other development to come to that location.
And I'll just add, at this state of the process, the entity's asking for a rezoning to a general zoning designation, so there's a whole list of different uses that can potentially go in there. Not just this one mentioned, although that's the intent, it sounds like, from the current private contractual obligations. There's a whole list of uses that could go in there.
To be clear, we have no application for a site plan or anything for a U-Haul, other than we know that they're a potential buyer of the site.
You're welcome. Are there any other members of the public that would like to address City Council on this item at this time? Seeing no one approach, I'll close public comment. Is there any additional discussion or questions from City Council?
Motion to approve it.
I have a motion from Vice Mayor to approve and a second from Councilman Finelli. Any additional discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Does the clerk have the count?
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. We now move on to agenda section H, resolutions. So, Council, if you would read number 9 in for us.
Yes, this is a resolution concerning FDOT LAP supplemental agreement number 1 for the Lehigh Trailhead project. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Palm Coast, Florida, approving the execution of a FDOT local agency program supplemental agreement number 1, 436473-1, 586801, for the construction of the Lehigh Trailhead project, authorizing the city manager or designee to execute said agreements, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, providing for implementing actions, and providing for an effective date.
Mr. Coate?
Yes, good evening, Mayor Council. This item here is sort of a cleanup measure. We receive various grants from DOT, and depending on the funding sources and the funding types that DOT allocates to the project, once bids are received, they clean up the grant basically with the funding to match the actual bid amount. So that's what this does. There are certain elements in the project that were DOT eligible components that were bid separately. We provided the City of Palm Coast funded items as alternates. So we knew exactly what the DOT portion of the project was in terms of their cost. So that base cost is there. This grant brings that grant to match that base bid cost.
Questions from City Council?
Cleanup item sounds about right.
Done.
None. We have no questions, so thank you for that presentation. And I will open the item up for any questions from to City Council from members of the public. Seeing no one approach, I'll close public comment. Any additional discussion by City Council? Then I would ask for a motion.
Motion to approve it.
Vice Mayor makes a motion to approve.
Second it.
Councilman Danko seconds. Any further discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Does the clerk have the vote?
5-0.
Thank you. We move on now to other business. And,
We had the consent agenda first, Mayor.
oh, I'm sorry, I missed that. Yes. Consent agenda. Would you, do you read that in or no?
No, just if anyone wants to pull this item, there's only one item.
Any members of City Council pull an item? Nope. Okay, very good. And then I would look for a motion
Public comment.
on consent?
Public comment.
Yeah, we
We do
take public comment
consent?
on
I'm
consent.
sorry, are there any members of the public that would like to address City Council on the consent agenda?
Bueller.
Seeing no one approach, I will close public comment, come back for additional discussion, and now we'll accept a motion from Vice Mayor Branchino.
Second.
With a second from Councilman Finelli. Any additional discussion? Then all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? Does the clerk have the count?
Motion passes.
Very
5-0.
good. And now I will move to that long-awaited other business.
Maybe we should note too, this was one of the more fortunate timings as well. The 7:22 may seem late, but we've had ones extend before where it's 10:30 and you guys are the poor end of the stick. Yeah, it's like you guys really got the Citizen Academy experience.
I second that. So we are graduating the 52nd session of the Palm Coast Citizens Academy. This session actually is typically a 5-week session, and this time we extended it to 6 so that we could give community development an entire day to themselves. And next time it will be extended to 7 so that Public Works has their own day as well. So this is a super exciting time. I really think that it's beneficial to both the city and to the citizens to go ahead and go through it because they learn a lot about, city government, and it gives them a chance to ask questions, get to know who in the city is doing what. And I've had a few people already tell me that they've learned a lot. So when I call your name, if you come up and take your certificate, and if you'll stand up here, we'll get a picture at the end. Nick Caruso.
There it is. Hey-o.
They are in alphabetical order, if that helps. Patricia? Ruth? Charles? Sally? Edward? I don't see Jerry. Leah? Daniel? Robert? Danielle? Donna? Hey, David. Hey, you guys want to look like you like each other? If you can, yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, if you want to hold them up. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. I know, right? Oh, no, we don't want to see that.
See how complicated things can be in a municipal government, so we don't continue to learn and help us move this city forward.
Thank you, Fred.
So we now move to the final public participation for this evening. Are there any members of the public that would like to make a final comment to City Council on items not previously discussed? Seeing no one approach, I'll close public participation, and we now move to discussion by City Council. And I just can't resist, since Chief Barrymore is here, I have to say that my wife and I attended the House of Horror last night, and it was just a very scary and very exciting experience for us. I saw the the faces of joy and the tears of horror on children last evening. And so the fire department has done an incredible job once again, and I'm sure you broke a record, so thank every one of them for all the hard work they did.
Was it like a horror show?
Oh, yes. Comments? Final comments, City Council?
Yes, I just have, due to the fact that this is the last opportunity I have before the election day, I want to thank every single one of the candidates who had the courage to go out there and run for office. This is a delicate job that needs people with, guts to do certain things. I was happy with certain people that actually, answered some of the questions. Well, some of them had them answered for them, but that's a different story. But anyway, for those who really want to put their heart into it, welcome and good luck next election. Thank you.
Very nice, thank you. Any final comments by council?
I had a few. It's early. We've got.
2.5 hours left, yeah.
Okay, you were doing well.
The Florida Urban Forestry, that CHIRP program is absolutely amazing. My children have had the benefits of going through that program, and it gives our children just such a love of the environment in our community, and I'd be remiss if I didn't, just share how great that program is. Veterans Day is coming up next week. I'd like to thank all that are currently serving and that have served for their service and protecting us and keeping us safe. And I had a question for the mayor. I know that we gave the USS Gerald Ford the key to the city. Do we get a key to the aircraft carrier?
You'll have to pass the security check, so I'll get working on that for you. Good question. But I will certainly share all of the many photos that I have. Very good question, very good.
If you'd
Council-
like to spend some time in the mess hall, I'm sure we can arrange.
Very good. Thank you, Councilman. The city attorney, do you have any final comments? The only thing I would ask, are there any future workshops that you wanted to mention?
Oh, yes. So if you remember, City Council, there's been a couple of times where we've had some items that have come up, and one or more of you have said, oh, maybe we need to workshop this as far as council policies and procedures go, how those work and why, and to change, maybe ideas for changing some of those procedures that you do now. As you know, the policy and procedures document is the city's council's direction on how you want to run your meetings. Of course, portions of that are required by state law, but there are other portions that are up to your discretion as to how you would run those. So I am working with the city manager and city staff to put a workshop together to talk about these policies, probably sometime in January after the election, and so we can roll in a couple other a little bit more information to the new city council members that will be here on touch a little bit on sunshine law, a little bit on ethics, and some other parts of our policies and procedures that we have.
Very good, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I did have a question. The gentleman that spoke earlier during public comment mentioned an issue with signage in a business a couple of weeks ago. I was not aware of this. I guess you went out there according to what he said. Can you inform us?
Sure. There's a company that holds I can't think of the name of it, holds a gun show. They use the armory over on the backside of the airport, and they come here, I believe it's 4 times a year. Their complaint, their issue was that holding it in the armory puts them out of the general path of most residents, so it's difficult. They feel it's difficult for some residents to find their location. So they were wanting to place directional signs in a way that people could find their location. So we're going to work with them. We have to respect the right-of-ways. I mean, that's not something that we can abuse. And I think that there are ways that we can help them identify their location for the future. They get a pretty good turnout of folks. There are some local business people that benefit from the show as well. So we'll work with them to figure out the best way to make their location identified for folks that would like to attend.
Was that a weekend event?
Yes, it was, correct. It was a 2-day, if I'm not mistaken, it was a Saturday and a Sunday, and it's called the U.S. Gun Show. If you look it up, it's
basically had signs out in violation of our sign ordinances that were picked up, I would.
That's what I understand, that they were in a right-of-way in areas that we would pick up. Just like if there were political signs in the right-of-way, we would also have to retrieve those as well. And we just had an issue with that along Palm Coast Parkway just yesterday, so we spoke to the folks and we got it corrected.
Okay,
And
I had just not heard of this. And that's
yeah,
fair.
so we try to treat everybody equally, 100% on the orders. Now, it will be an interesting topic for us to talk about in the future, because you have other groups that will come from time to time to ask about better signage. So it's a discussion.
Well, I think we had discussed this previously, briefly. We certainly are familiar with the law. If we allow one sign, we allow all sign.
Right.
But I think one of the things we discussed was possibly allowing signs on weekends. And in which case we would be allowing any sign.
Right.
But I know that would certainly benefit our real estate agents with their open houses and maybe some other businesses. And so I think it's something we should discuss after the election with a new council and see if we can come up with something that makes everyone.
So if you would, why don't you offer that up as a workshop item for discussion? I think an excellent topic, and perhaps follow along, and council can get up to speed on keep us in the right lanes. And I think I would favor that, absolutely. Good.
Sure.
Very
Let's
good.
get the new people in. Let's get them seated, and then There's a lot of things to look at, but yes, I will bring that up.
Good, thank you for that. And now we'll ask City Manager, any final comments for this evening?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Very good.
Motion to adjourn.
Then I have a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Seconded.
And a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And congratulations again to the Citizens Academy. Thank you all.
Eddie, give me a hug, brother.
You sure I could squeeze you too much? Oh, my good. Boy, strong.
Yeah.
Oh.
Absolutely.
Good night.
Night-night.
All right, take it easy, my brother.
All right, Nick, have a good one.
I'll be seeing, well, next week we don't have.
Nothing next week, so 15th. Person last day.